10 Christian lands that became Muslim. How it happened. Long-form documentary script, approx 12 to 15 minutes. Intro, 00 to 040. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most dramatic and complex religious transformations in world history, the transition of several predominantly Christian regions to majority Muslim populations. We will examine 10 specific areas, detailing the historical events that unfolded, how Islam spread in these regions, and the various pressures, both societal and political, that led to the conversion of countless Christians. This exploration is not an indictment of any faith. Rather, it is an opportunity to understand how history shapes our present reality. Let's begin. 1. Asia Minor, modern Turkey. Once almost entirely Christian, now 99% Muslim. For a millennium, Asia Minor served as the heart of Eastern Christianity, rich with Christian heritage as the land of Paul, Timothy, the 7 churches of Revelation, and the Byzantine Empire. However, between the 11th and the 20th centuries, the region faced waves of invasions, first from the Seljuk Turks and later the Ottoman Empire. Christian villages were subjected to the jizya tax, a hefty tax imposed exclusively on non-Muslims, which further marginalized the Christian population. Many Christians, in a bid to maintain their lands and legal rights, chose to convert to Islam. The Dev-Shirme system also played a significant role. Christian boys were taken from their families, raised as Muslims, and trained for positions in the Ottoman administration. By the end of the Ottoman Empire, the systematic eradication of Christianity had occurred through coercion, massacres, deportations, and relentless social pressure, culminating in Turkey's present overwhelming Muslim identity. 2. Egypt. Once majority Christian, now 90% Muslim, Egypt was historically the stronghold of the Coptic Church, one of the oldest Christian communities. However, after the Arab conquest in 641 AD, a series of restrictive policies were implemented. Churches faced severe regulations, and Christians were obligated to pay high taxes that discouraged their practices. They were often barred from holding prominent positions within the government. These oppressive measures, along with periods of outright forced conversions and destruction of churches, fostered an environment where many Christians felt compelled to assimilate into the dominant Islamic culture. Over the ensuing centuries, most Egyptians gradually converted, leaving the Copts as a small minority in modern times. 3. Syria, an early Christian homeland, now mostly Muslim. Syria has a profound Christian heritage and was home to one of the earliest Christian centers, Antioch, where followers of Christ were first termed Christians. Following the Islamic conquest in the 7th century, Christians found themselves relegated to second-class citizens under dhimmi laws. Their religious freedoms were curtailed, with restrictions placed on the construction of churches and public displays of their faith. The imposition of heavy taxation created an insurmountable burden that pushed many to convert. Over time and through numerous conflicts, Christian identity in the region diminished significantly, and today, a mere fraction of the population identifies as Christian. 4. Iraq/Mesopotamia, birthplace of early churches, now heavily Muslim. The historical region of Iraq was once home to vibrant Assyrian and Chaldean Christian communities, fundamental to the early Christian church. However, with the establishment of Islamic rule, these communities faced crippling political disenfranchisement. Converts to Islam gained preferential treatment, which incentivized many to abandon their Christian faith. Following the rise of extremist groups in recent years, the destructive waves of violence, forced conversions, and persecution have drastically reduced Christian numbers in Iraq to less than 1% of the population today. 5. North Africa, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Morocco. Once entirely Christian, St. Augustine's homeland, now almost fully Muslim. North Africa was predominantly Christian during Roman times, known for its theological intellectuals like St. Augustine. After the Arab conquest, bishops were deposed, Churches were systematically destroyed and oppressive. Taxation mechanisms forced many Christians to convert for survival. The combination of socio-economic pressures, the threat of violence, and forced conversions led to a rapid decline in Christianity. By the 12th century, the once thriving Christian community had all but vanished, leaving a predominantly Muslim society in its wake. 6. Lebanon, once Christian majority, now Muslim majority population. Historically, Lebanon boasted vibrant Maronite and Orthodox Christian communities. However, under successive Islamic empires, the societal and political power of Christian groups was steadily eroded. The growth of Muslim populations in Lebanon occurred through interfaith marriages, gradual migration, and heavy taxation that disadvantaged Christians. Furthermore, civil wars and waves of emigration significantly diminished the Christian demographic. This loss wasn't the result of a single event, but rather centuries of political, social, and economic pressures that persist to this day. 7. Sudan. Once a Christian kingdom, now heavily Muslim, medieval Nubia existed as a Christian kingdom for over a millennium. However, after the expansion of Islam and subsequent invasions, churches were razed, and Christian rulers were coerced into conversion. The implementation of Sharia law further exacerbated the pressures on Christians, while large migrations of Islamic tribes transformed the cultural landscape. Today, only small Christian communities survive, surrounded by a predominantly Muslim population. 8. Bosnia and Herzegovina Christian Slavs converted under Ottoman pressure. Bosnia was historically home to both Catholic and Orthodox Christians. Following the Ottoman conquest, Christians were subjected to systemic discrimination, heavy taxation, and a loss of legal rights, which made conversion to Islam appealing. As social and economic benefits accrued to converts, many Bosnians transitioned to Islam over several centuries. Today, the vast majority identify as Bosniaks, a predominantly Muslim population. 9. Albania, from Christian to majority Muslim under Ottoman rule. Albania has a rich Christian history spanning over 1,000 years. However, during Ottoman rule, the landscape changed dramatically. Muslim Albanians enjoyed tax benefits and social privileges, while Christians faced increasing political disenfranchisement. Targeted campaigns put immense pressure on Christian villages, particularly during times of unrest or rebellion, which led to forced conversions. By the 1800s, a significant portion of the population had converted to Islam, creating a predominantly Muslim society. 10. Indonesia, certain islands. Some islands once Christian or animist, later Islamized. While Indonesia was not traditionally a Christian majority nation, certain islands had sizable Christian populations prior to the rise of Islamic sultanates. In regions such as the Maluku Islands, Islamic rulers executed mass conversions, often through coercion or violence. Attacks on Christian villages and efforts to integrate them into Muslim-administered territories further accelerated this transformation. Today, Indonesia stands as the world's largest Muslim-majority nation, showcasing a remarkable shift in religious demographics. How did Islam take over these Christian regions? The transformation of these regions involved a combination of factors, including 1. Military conquest. The arrival of Islamic armies often resulted in the political dominance of Islamic rulers, which paved the way for religious conversion to align with the ruling class. 2. Dhimmi laws. These regulations forced non-Muslims into a subordinate status, subjecting them to taxes, restrictions on religious practices, and limited civil rights, creating substantial incentives to convert. Through this detailed exploration, we gain insights into the complex historical processes that led to significant religious shifts across these regions, illustrating how intertwined politics, culture, and faith are throughout history. So Nigerian, be careful and aware that Islam means objective and motive is to forcibly convert your entire nation. Jesus Christ is the only way to eternal life with God. Jesus is God. Please share and follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Winning Souls for Jesus 12.